Since Amado is being interrogated once again because a face like this should never be trusted, I want to dig deep into Amado's character before he has a chance to reveal any of his secrets, because this is going to help solidify what Amado's master plan with Kawaki has been all this time and what their connection is. And it's also just going to make you appreciate how much effort has been put into Amado's character, because it's pretty cool. Let's start with the first name, Amado. The Japanese meaning of a Naruto or Boruto character oftentimes tells us an awful lot about that character. Now, depending on the context, Amado means either blind or storm door in Japanese. Having been a part of the Boruto community for years now, long before I made YouTube videos, I've seen my fair share of Amado theorists talking about Amado's name, and most people hate these two meanings and find them useless. And since Boro, Ko, Delta, Victor, Eida, and Daemon don't seem to be named after Japanese meanings, a lot of people turn to the Spanish definition where Amado means loved or beloved. But I see nothing wrong with the Japanese definitions, and so I'll be the one to stand out and actually explain how they work. And I'll even use the Spanish definition too. I'll use all three. I'm gonna start with blind though. Let's point out the obvious part first. Amado wears glasses, so his vision probably isn't very good, meaning he's partially blind. Not very important, but worth mentioning. What I think they're really going for is that Amado has become blind not in the literal sense, but in the figurative sense. He's become blinded by his actions, blinded by his goals, blind to how his actions affect other people, blind to how the consequences of his actions will affect the future. Amado is blind to all that, and instead only sees the end result of his master plan. Sounds simple enough, but what is he blinded by exactly? His beloved, the one he loved, his daughter. You don't need to do this. I need it! But the Spanish definition of loved or beloved can just tie into the Japanese definition of blind. Amado has become blind because of the one he loved, that being his daughter. I've explained like a million times why I think Amado's plan is ultimately to bring his daughter back, and whether Amado becoming an Atsuki is part of the process, or Kawaki ending the age of shinobi becomes a negative byproduct of all this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter! His goal is probably to bring his daughter back, regardless of whether other things come up along the way or not. I want you to fully understand why I say this, so after you finish this video, I highly encourage you to work your way backwards through a chain of 4 more videos directed by the end credits. Even if you've already seen them, watch them again back to back so all of the information is fresh and connects together. So after this video, watch my last video about Kawaki's name and him ending the age of shinobi. And then watch the video before that about Amado and Kawaki's hidden connection. And then watch a video from a long time ago about Amado's master plan to bring his daughter back. And then finally watch the 3rd video I ever made on this channel about Amado and Code's white karma seal and why Amado is using Code. After you watch each video and learn something, the video you watch next will answer how it came to some starting point until you go back to the beginning. If you do that and enjoy all the videos, then subscribe, like the videos, leave a comment, and hit the noti bell. So now let's talk about that other definition for Amado, Storm Door. This one has the most substance to it, and I think it's the most important one that the series is focusing on, even though it's the one everybody seems to hate and overlook. To put it simply, Amado is the storm door for the house that is Kawaki, and they've made this clear in several different ways, and I will explain all of them. But first I want to talk about the inspiration for the house and door concept, and that's the Amanojaku in the tale of Uriko Hime. If you were wondering what that demon thing on the thumbnail was, that's an Amanojaku. Similar to the case of Kawaki and Jinichi Kawakami from my last video, the connection between Amado and the Amanojaku really has nothing to do with the similarities in the spelling of their names, but rather the folklore behind them. Amanojaku are famous creatures in Japanese folklore that are able to provoke a person's darkest desires and instigate them into committing wicked deeds. And they are also able to see into a person's heart in order to provoke them, and they are also said to have an extremely contrary nature, meaning that if they were told to do something, they would do the opposite. Why is that important? Why? When we look at Amado's character in regards to Kawaki and Code, we see very clearly how Amado fits this description. He sees that Kawaki is grieving over the loss of karma and his lack of power to protect Naruto, and tempts Kawaki to take the karma seal back. And with Code, we see how Amado knows how much Code worships the Otsutsuki and how he would grieve over the loss of his god Ishiki, and tempts him to carry on Ishiki's will and eat a chakra fruit. Because yes, that Ishiki that talked to Code definitely seems very fake, and you'll remember why when you watch all the videos I mentioned earlier. As far as his contrary nature goes, every time someone tells Amado to tell them all the details and not leave out important information, Amado always leaves out details and important information. Or when people tell Amado to shut up, he just keeps talking and pissing them off. Every single time, he just does the opposite of what they ask for. Now, the most famous folktale about Amanojaku is the tale of Uriko Hime, where when Uriko Hime is going to get married, her parents leave town to prepare for the wedding, and they warn her not to open the door for anybody no matter what. After they leave, Uriko Hime hears a knock at the door, where someone asks her to let them in. She refuses, and so the person asks her to at least open the window a crack. Uriko Hime reluctantly opens the window a crack, and then the Amanojaku smashes the window open and jumps into the house and kills Uriko Hime. Afterwards, it wore Uriko Hime's skin like a costume and pretended to be her at the wedding. But a crow warns the parents that their daughter is not what she seemed, and then they rip off the Amanojaku's skin it was wearing, and then it runs away. But then the parents and villagers beat the Amanojaku up until it dies. A lot of people have often taken to heart the part about the Amanojaku wearing Uriko Hime's skin to theorize that Amado wanted to steal Kawaki as his own vessel because he's actually an Otsutsuki inside a weak vessel named Amado. And while I won't rule out the idea entirely, as some of it could maybe weave its way into the story, the part I think they're really focusing on is the whole house and opening of the door aspect of it, which was explained by Amado in chapter 59. When Sumire is asking Amado why he wants Kawaki to take the karma seal back, Amado makes an analogy with a house and a door and says,
"Here, let's liken Kawaki as a vessel to a house. The karma would be the house's door. Ishiki's soul was the homeowner, but with the door gone, he could no longer enter the house. Meanwhile, Ishiki's lifespan runs out, and his soul is extinguished. Do you see it now? Even though it has no door, the house itself still exists, and inside that house, Ishiki's power continues to sleep. I'm not able to set such a thing up from scratch, but reopening the door, that much I can do."
I think this conversation makes it pretty clear that they are taking inspiration from the story of Uriko Hime and the Amanojaku. Amado's role in the story is to open the door, where the karma seal that Amado recreated could represent the storm door, which can either stay shut to keep the storm out of the house, or it can be opened and let the storm enter the house that is Kawaki. In Amado's case, he opened the door, and you can make the same case that Amado opened the door to the house that is Code 2. When it comes to Kawaki, he's been symbolically compared to different types of containers several times throughout the story. Specifically, an empty container with a hole in it. And this concept was explored deeply during the flashback of when Jigen was training Kawaki. Jigen says, "Kawaki, you have nothing. No family or friends. No power. No talent. You don't happen to have a single thing. You are empty. And more than anything, you loathe your empty self. You deny your own worth. There is a hole in your heart. Nothing you gain will ever fill it. It'll just spill right out of that hole. But Kawaki, that is precisely why I bestow the karma upon you. Because it is a special mark that is the one and only thing that can fill your punctured heart." And then during this part of the arc, where Kawaki has this flashback, he's also rebuilding Himawari's vase that he broke, which was a metaphor for Kawaki putting his life back together. But there was one piece missing that Kawaki couldn't find, leaving a hole in the vase so water would still spill out of it, just like what Jigen said to Kawaki. Later on, however, Kawaki was compared to a house by Amado. Think of Kawaki's body as a house like Amado described, and Kawaki is the new homeowner since Ishiki died, and the karma seal is still the door that lets Kawaki enter and leave the house. Since Kawaki is dry and empty, what he wants is to fill his house with water, which represents power like it did in my last video, although not as weirdly as it did last time. So now imagine a house with a spot for the front door, but the actual door isn't there, so it's just an open doorway. That would be Kawaki originally. He was fully able to allow water inside the house, but it would just spill right back out of that open doorway. Then Ishiki gives Kawaki the karma seal, which is a door. Now Kawaki can let water or power into the house, and he can also close the door to keep that water inside. However, Kawaki lost the karma seal when Ishiki revived inside Jigen, which Amado describes as being like a house with no door, as if that doorway was filled with cement. But another way to look at it would just be as if the door was locked shut and Ishiki lost the key to open the door, so he would need to go make a new key, which was like implanting another karma seal on Kawaki. But then Ishiki died, so Kawaki didn't have a key to get back into his own house, meaning he was unable to access his own power. And then this is when Amado comes in. He engineers a new key for Kawaki to reopen the door. He doesn't have the power to create a door for Kawaki from scratch, but he can make a new key for him. And so all that's left is for Kawaki to want to open the door again to get inside the house, which represented Kawaki wishing for his karma seal back. And Amado knew there was a storm out there, and so this door functions as a storm door. And since Kawaki can open the door as he pleases, he's able to let more water from the rain into his house, representing Kawaki gaining more of Ishiki's power, until eventually the house is completely filled with water, which will be when Kawaki finally has all of Ishiki's power and abilities. The karma seals that Amado makes are storm doors, and like I said, you can make similar comments about Amado in Code, assuming he did in fact create Code's white karma seal, or at least have a heavy involvement in Code receiving it, which I explained the reasonings for at the end of the chain of videos I told you to watch earlier. Another way you can look at this is that you must open the storm door in order to open the regular door in houses that have a storm door. So Kawaki's new karma seal might be a regular door, not a storm door, but the storm door was needed in order to open the regular door, meaning Amado was needed for Kawaki to get the karma seal back, which he was, and he was also needed the first time too. And again, a storm door can let rain inside the house or block it off, and Amado is choosing to let that rainstorm inside the house that is Kawaki. So again, either way you look at it, Amado is the storm door for the house that is Kawaki. And while Amado might not have completely evil intentions behind restoring Kawaki's karma seal, just like the Amanojaku in the tale of Uriko Hime, Amado is trying to get inside Kawaki's house so he can utilize Kawaki's power for his own purposes. And him planting the ideas that Kawaki needs the karma seal back is like the Amanojaku begging Uriko Hime to open the door, and the Amanojaku convincing Uriko Hime to open the window a crack is like when Kawaki finally wished for the karma seal back. And then the Amanojaku breaking the window and jumping into the house might be when Amado tries to convince Kawaki to carry out the end goal of Amado's master plan, which I think is to bring his daughter back, or potentially more specifically, to turn Delta into Amado's real daughter. Now that I've mentioned Delta, let's talk more about Amado's last name and its meaning and symbolism in the story. Amado's last name is Sanzu, as mentioned by Bug in chapter 71, which may or may not be the same as Kawaki's last name. While I do think it is, it doesn't really matter for what I'm about to say.
It doesn't matter!
Since Amado's last name is no longer a mystery since it was stated right in the story. As I explained last video, the kanji used for Sanzu in the manga is the same as the kanji for the Sanzu no Kawa, or the River of Three Crossings, where dead souls must cross one of three paths depending on the weight of their offenses, those being a bridge, a ford, or a stretch of deep, snake-infested waters. Like with Kawaki, these three paths symbolically represent the path Amado is heading down at any given time in the story. But instead of Kawaki stepping deeper into the water to represent Kawaki's path of fixating on acquiring power from the Atsuki or ninja tech and stepping further away from the ninja way of things. Amado stepping deeper into the water represents Amado's path of fixating on bringing his daughter back instead of focusing on creating a new family. Either literally like Naruto or Sasuke eventually did when they got married and had children, or figuratively like Kakashi did with Team 7 or Naruto did with Team 7. Allow me to break it down now. The bridge represents the good path, when dead souls have committed no big offenses. This would be the path of Amado moving on and making a new family to fill the hole in his heart, either through friends or having another child. Sure, it sucks and it's really sad, but ultimately, that's the path you would have to take. You would have to just move forward. However, Amado didn't do that. He fixated on his daughter, and eventually created Delta, who I highly suspect is a clone of Amado's daughter, similar to how Amado created Kashin Koji, who was a clone of Jiraiya. This path represents Amado stepping into the forward. Amado's gotten his feet and knees wet here, but it isn't the end of the world since his upper body is still dry. Sure, Delta might be a clone of Amado's daughter, and show that he didn't move on completely, but just like how Kashin Koji is quite different from Jiraiya in personality,
I need to get on with my research, and for that, I need a lovely lady. No fruits, no vegetables, but a lady!
Delta isn't the exact same person as Amado's daughter. They might be similar, but they aren't the same person. And so Amado could technically just move on from here, and Delta and the Leaf Village could be considered Amado's new family. However, we know that Amado desires more. He has not achieved his goal with Kawaki yet, and he's made that very clear. Assuming my theory about Amado's master plan is correct, the next step would be to cross the barriers between life and death and bring his dead daughter back to life. This path would represent Amado stepping into the deep, snake-infested waters. He's selfishly gone all in at this point without caring about how he is affecting the people around him and the rest of the world, because he's a storm door who's blinded by his love for his daughter. All the meanings of Amado's first and last name tie together. There's so much to Amado and Kawaki that I could talk about all day long, and it's really hard for me to make a concise video about it, but I think that's what they're going for. They're using the Amanojaku mythology to inspire the house and door concept with Amado and Kawaki, and one meaning of Amado's name is a storm door, which coincides with that concept, and then Amado's last name Sanzu symbolizes Amado's path to bringing his daughter back, and it ties in with the other meanings of Amado's name, blind and loved. I think this is so cool about Amado and Kawaki. All this stuff they're doing with them is great, and that's partly why they are arguably the best two characters in Boruto to a lot of people. Definitely the best two to me, because there's just so much more effort actually being put into them over some other characters. But I want to hear what you guys think. After watching this video, do you have a bigger appreciation for Amado and how much effort Kishimoto and everybody else has been putting into him and Kawaki? And do you guys agree with my analysis of how the meaning behind Amado's first name is represented in the story, with Amado being a storm door and his role being inspired by the Amanojaku in the tale of Ariko Hime? And do you also think he's become blinded by his love for his daughter? And do you think Amado's last name being Sanzu represents the path to bringing his daughter back like I described? Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to watch all the 4 videos I mentioned earlier through the chain of end credits, as it'll piece everything together for you and remind you of all the little details you forgot about. But that's a wrap on today's video, so thank you guys for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, and hit the bell icon for notifications. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!